My son lost his first wife when their two children were preschoolers. My grandson is now 17 and my granddaughter is almost 16. Their relationship with my son has been on a downward spiral for years. It started when he and his current wife moved in together. She had two kids of her own, and early on they showed extreme jealousy whenever their mom would pay any attention or buy anything for my grandkids. They were older, teenagers, and said a number of cruel things to my grandkids. My grandkids told my son, they told my wife and I, and we spoke to our son, but he ignored all four of us. My wife also spoke to my son's second wife prior to the wedding, and she said her kids would adjust in time. My grandkids spent years living with too much older kids who told them they deserved to have a dead mom and that she had wanted to die because nobody would want them around. They accused them of stealing from them because their mom shouldn't be doing anything for them. There were incidents where they broke the stuff their mom bought my grandkids. My wife and I pleaded with our son to do something to help his kids. We said they didn't deserve to be raised like that. The problems continued even after the older kids moved out. They still expressed a lot of jealousy and hatred for my grandkids. I never interacted much with my son's stepkids. I saw them a handful of times in the years my son has been married to his current wife. They would mostly go to their dad if my son and his wife were spending time with us or any of our other kids, or they would reject offers to spend time with us. But the few times I did see them, I was always shocked by how blatant their hate of my grandkids was and how my son never appeared to care. One incident in particular stands out. It was my granddaughter's birthday, and she got some art kit she had wanted. It set off the two older kids who called her a witch baby, and they even broke part of the kit. My wife and I spoke up to our son and his wife, but they did nothing and said nothing. My grandkids now spend a lot of time with myself and my wife. They hardly speak to their dad despite living under his roof. They wanted us to get custody of them, but we were denied, so they have taken to doing their best to make it through the next 1 or 2 years. My son is only now starting to care that the relationship with his kids has been destroyed. He asked me why we tried to fight for custody of the kids when he's their dad, and he accused my wife and I of turning the kids against him. This is when I stopped him, and I said we didn't turn them against him. He's just living with the consequences of ignoring what his kids were telling him. I told him he put them through years of bullying so he could marry and stay married, and now he has to live with his decision. My son ranted at me and said the last thing any parent should do is try to make their kid feel shitty about themselves, which is what I was doing. Am I the idiot? Comment 1. Not the idiot, but your son surely is. I don't think your grandkids and your son's relationship would get any better considering the way your son is acting, which is very sad. Losing a mom is already hard, and their father not doing what he is supposed to do to protect his kids is just horrible. I'm glad that the kids have your wife and you to rely on. Does the stepmom know how the kids feel, and does she act badly with the kids? If not, I suggest you and your wife talk to her and address the situation, and also call out your step-grandchildren for what they do. This needs to stop, and I hope your grandchildren get the love and care they deserve from their dad's family just like you guys give them. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Wow. The irony of your son suggesting that you are making him feel bad. What about how bad he's made his kids feel for years? The obliviousness of some people. Good luck helping those kids make it through the next year, plus until both can move out. One question. Did you take the time to tell your step-grandchildren off? If you haven't, might I suggest you do that as soon as possible and in front of your grandchildren? I'd bet they would love to see that. Comment 3. Not the idiot. He's had plenty of opportunities to ensure the relationship with his kids would be better. In addition to his kids and you telling him about things that happened, he's also witnessed things like the example you're giving with the birthdays. You're not turning his kids against him. You're giving his kids a place to escape their home situation, and the only reason that's a necessity is because their dad didn't defend them against that. That's on him. Now, for the next story. I'm an addict who is currently trying to get sober. I was recently having coffee in the outdoor seating area of a shop with my friend when she asked me how my recovery is going. I was honest and said it hasn't been great and there have been plenty of relapses. We were having a conversation about it when the woman from 2 tables down comes up and asks us to stop talking about this issue as her cousin, I presume the lady with her, was a former addict and it was triggering. She also asked that if I've used in the last 24 hours to please leave as that would be triggering to her cousin too. I told her I was sorry I was upsetting her cousin, but if she's that fragile then she shouldn't be out in public, and especially not in a place where we can see someone who was clearly strung out on the street. She got angry with me. Told me her cousin relapses after 3 years, then it's my fault. Took her cousin and left. My friend told me I shouldn't have been so flippant about it, and I probably upset the woman. She thinks I was a bit of an butt and should have just apologized and kept quiet. Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I have read more times than I can count that people seeking recovery have to get comfortable being around discussions, and even other people using, say, an alcoholic in recovery, needing to be able to be present where people are drinking without having trouble. They can't just go to a place and demand that nobody around them discuss it. The only thing I'm wondering is if you were much louder than you thought because someone 2 tables down really shouldn't be able to hear your conversation. But anyway, comment 2. Not the idiot. This idea of being triggered is getting ridiculous. It's being used far too much, and now it's been watered down to anything someone doesn't want to hear that may make them uncomfortable. It isn't the public's job or responsibility to protect you from what bothers you. You were correct. If that many things trigger her cousin, then maybe she shouldn't be out in public. The nerve that woman had to even suggest these things makes her a jerk. Comment 3. Not the idiot. You're right. If the person is that fragile, they need to be in an inpatient rehab facility. Someone who wants to use will find an excuse, so even if you become that lady's cousin's excuse, it's still not on you. That woman was completely unrealistic asking that of you or anyone. Now for the next story. Am I a jerk for demanding that my husband draw clear lines with the mother of his child? My husband has a daughter from a previous relationship. For context, she's 5 years old. Prior to us getting married, my husband and his ex-girlfriend had what seemed like a well-oiled machine when it came to co-parenting their daughter. I've always said I wouldn't date men with children. I don't have any children of my own yet because I didn't want that extra baggage. But to be honest, it was their co-parenting relationship that put my mind at ease to become comfortable with the idea of becoming serious about him. I love my husband and his daughter dearly. However, her mother is slowly becoming a pain in my butt. Prior to me being in the picture, all expenses for their daughter have been split 50-50ths. There were no problems besides the little oddball expenses here and there that my husband had to cover 100%. Again, nothing major. It all started over the summer. My husband's ex-girlfriend wanted to go out of the country for a 2-week trip. She asked my husband if he could pay for their daughter 100%. At first, he advised that he would, but then it dawned on him that she has been pulling this kind of stunt for a few months now, where all of a sudden she's unable to pay for her portion of their daughter's expenses. He then advised her that he will pay for half, as they've both been doing for years. I don't think she was too happy with that, but they went on their trip in summer and all seemed to be well until it was time for school. She advised him that she will not be able to pay for half of their daughter's tuition as she's been doing, along with her portion of the household expenses for the home that she shares with their daughter, which essentially means that he's going to be expected to fill the gap. As a result of all that's happening, my husband advised that now wouldn't be the best time for us to start our own family, as he would be stretched too thin financially. We have been talking about having a baby for the past few months, and we're about to start trying. Quite frankly, I'm pissed that we have to put starting our family on hold due to his ex not being able to pull her weight financially. Am I the jerk for telling him that he needs to draw clear lines? That his responsibility is his daughter alone, and his ex needs to figure out her shoot and start pulling her financial weight again like she's been doing? Now here are the comments. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Seems like the ex is milking him every chance she gets and is beginning to take advantage of him. Furthermore, this is putting you and him at odds, which is not healthy for your marriage. If court-ordered papers are not already in place, then perhaps talking to an attorney regarding child custody could help your situation. He would not be on the hook for 50% or 100% of the costs to take care of his daughter. This certainly is not the solution for everyone, but it is a possible path if papers are not already in place. It can be traumatic for the child also to go through it, so keep that in mind as well. Comment 2. You really need to rethink this relationship. You will never get to have the child you want, and he will always put the ex above you. Maybe it's time to move on and find someone who wants to have children with you. He is not it. It's not wrong for him to want to support his child, but he does not have to support his ex. Maybe a trial separation to see how he wants to proceed. And if he does not want to have a life with you, then you need to move on. Don't waste another 5 years hoping he will come to terms with what you want also. Comment 3. Not the idiot, but they need a formal agreement as to parenting and payment of expenses. If she can't afford the school the child has been going to, then the child can go to public school. He should not be paying for her vacations with mom. That is for mom to pay for, or she can leave the child home with him while she goes. This isn't a draw clear lines, it is get a formal agreement and hold her to it. She can't pay her half of the home, then sell the home and she can figure out her place to live. Now for the next story. So I, 25-year-old female, recently learned that one of my best friends from college, Lila, 25-year-old female, is engaged. I'm incredibly happy for her, and I was initially excited until she told me what her and her fiancé, Ben's, 27-year-old male, plans are for the wedding. For some background, I met Lila in college. We were dorm roommates in freshman year, then roommates again at a nearby apartment in junior year. Senior year, she moved in with Ben and I got a new roommate. A few months later, the pandemic began. Ben and Lila used the pandemic to try and develop interests together. Both of them enjoy their at-home movie dates, so they tried to find films and TV series to watch together. A month into this endeavor, one of Ben's friends suggests Game of Thrones, and to say they got hooked is an understatement. Aside from her chosen field of study/work, I have legitimately never seen Lila so passionate about something. It became her and Ben's life. They watched the series, read the books, and even started dressing up for conventions. I thought it was super sweet, but I'm not much of a high fantasy person, and I've heard the show is heavy on gore and intimacy attack, which I have a lot of trouble sitting through. Lila did invite me once to a rewatch party she and Ben hosted the next year, 2021, but I declined and told her why. And she's not made efforts to get me interested since and says she gets it. While I would definitely call Lila and Ben's interest in the show obsessive, they don't push it on to other people, and it hasn't caused issues so far when me or other friends aren't into it. That being said, I'm worried that if I refuse to be a bridesmaid in her wedding due to her Game of Thrones theme, she'll actually take it poorly. I don't know if this makes me a bad person, but I genuinely do not want to put money into a dress/hair/makeup for me to be styled as an imaginary character for a wedding. It feels ridiculous. She and her husband are going to be married dressed as their favorite characters, who are also either in a relationship or they think they should be. All the names are hard to keep up with, and I get them confused, and the bridesmaids and groomsmen will also be styled to look like other characters, and the guests will be asked to wear the house colors of the character the bride or the groom is dressed as, depending on which one invited them. We haven't been assigned characters yet, but I don't care. I don't want to do it. I want Ben and Lila to have their special day, and I want it to be what they want, but I don't want to pay good money for what are essentially costumes of fake people. It feels weird, but I want to be supportive and not be rude. Would I be in the wrong if I backed out? Edit. Just to clarify two things. My main concern is how much money I'll have to spend on this because she doesn't want simple dresses that sort of go with the characters. She wants full, somewhat extensive costuming and most likely expensive styled lace fronts. I don't want to spend money on something that I'm going to feel ridiculous wearing. Also, I wasn't necessarily asked. I was just added to a group chat, and she said, "You're all going to be my bridesmaids." I replied excitedly before she started sharing all of these expectations. Edit 2. I can't keep up with these comments, but I'm seeing some common threads. No, I don't think her wedding idea is stupid. No, it's not the theme that's throwing me off. No, I don't hate the show. She wants us to get new custom wigs and costumes, which will be at serious expense to each of us, and she will be keeping it all afterwards to display in her Game of Thrones room. I love Lila, and I think her wedding theme is going to be fun. I just don't know if I can financially keep up, and if I could, it would be a lot of money going to something I really won't be comfortable in that I then have to turn over to her, so I'll never get any more use out of it. That's where my conflicting feelings lie. I do not hate her, or her theme, or the show. I'm just worried about being physically uncomfortable in an expensive costume that will then go on a mannequin. It's also going to be an outdoor ceremony in spring, and I'm worried about the layers getting too warm. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.